So what do you get if you cross a cow with a world-class radio telescope expert and a leading Australian chip design team? Yeah, Rob Antonov's just gone all visual. Actually, you get Taggle Systems, which we like to call the Internet of Things. It's all about location and monitoring of remote, unpowered assets. And a cow is a pretty good example of that. In fact, you can see a cow with one of our tags. It's a 20-gram tag, pings every 15 minutes for 3 years, and allows the farmer to know exactly where his cattle are. We're also reading water meters, 10 to 15 year in-field life with no battery change, 15-minute readings at very low cost. Why did we start with a cow? It's a perfect example of a low-value remote asset with no power source living in quite a robust environment. We reckon if you can tag a cow, you can tag just about anything. World-renowned radio telescope expert, actually they're really good at finding very weak radio signals and interpreting them over vast distances, and that gives us the ability to build a network capability which is capable of operating in a commercially viable manner over very long range. And of course, the chip design team, and I've met half of the Australian chip design community here today, allows us to build ultra-low power devices that are able to last in field at long time with small form factor and enough intelligence to do what we're after. We had a close look at this market when we started, and I used to be a consultant, so I have to draw these charts. And we realized that there are two things that are absolutely critical. In-field device life unassisted, no solar cells. But how big an area do you want to network? And we had a look at the technologies, and RFID does a great job. All of these technologies, by the way, do a great job of what they're designed for. Great in-field life, but it's a choke point technology. You need to be close to it to monitor it. Wi-Fi, Zigbee radio type devices in general, actually, you can get pretty good in-field life out of these things now, depending on how you configure the device. But the complication around the range of most of these technologies is that you end up with really optimum networking around about the 5 square kilometre area, particularly if you're looking for location, not just monitoring. And of course, you've got GPS, satellite, mobile, fantastic, I mean, ubiquitous. But high power content, so what are you going to do if you need it to be in field for 3 years without any battery changes or solar cells? There's a great big hole in this market. And we built Taggle to fill it, specifically to fill this hole, not to do anything else, not to shoehorn into any of the other markets that these guys currently play in because they're good at it. We happen to think it's a pretty big market, 26 million cows in Australia. Southeast Queensland lose $130 million worth of water a year through their pipe network because they can't monitor their water in real time. 300,000 shopping trolleys plus, pets, children, partners, better move on. Why is this different? We've actually taken a different approach. The traditional approach, we all know it. In fact, we've seen it a couple of times already. It's all about more, more, more. We do it because we can. Faster data, more complex and sophisticated two-way functionality, more device intelligence, which is all great as long as you've got a power source. But it leads to high power usage, high network complexity, and high component cost. Taggle took the alternative approach of saying, well, what do we really need to know about a cow? Or a water meter? Not very much at any point in time. So we built something that's actually limited data per device, simple one-way functionality, which gives significant improvement in range and cost. And then we centralize the intelligence at the server, not at the device, which means we can get ultra-low power usage. And as I say, water meter reading for 10 to 15 years without any intervention. Low-cost network with long range and low component cost. What are we doing with it? Well, there are a lot of things you could do with it. But we need to focus because we're an early stage business. So we're focusing, working with Telstra as an R&D partner and Mackay Council and Reef Catchments on building one network to deliver 3 quite distinct separate pieces of value, just to prove the utility of this type of technology. We're working on environmental monitoring because reef catchments have a real issue about tracking agricultural practices and their impact on the barrier reef, water runoff, etc. Agricultural monitoring, 10% yield reductions currently exist in the Mackay cane field areas because the irrigators don't irrigate right because they don't have information coming back from their fields. Domestic water metering, as we spoke about before, leak detection, but actually as Ramin was talking about earlier with energy, you give the right information to the customer in the right way in a timely fashion, you can significantly change demand consumption. All of this is kind of interesting, and actually that's one of our founders' farms up there with his cows, which all have names. But I guess the reason we really wanted to show you this was not just because of what we're doing now, but to leave you with a question, which is, when this technology comes your way, what would you taggle? Thank you.